Hello everyone, welcome to Body Bags. I'll be your reviewer for today. I'm Lonnie from Horror Heaven77. And the movie that I want to talk about is I know this movie is pretty well divided between fans of the Hannibal Lecter series, but yeah, I want to talk about the 2001 adaptation of Hannibal, starring Anthony Hopkins and Julianne Moore, directed by Ridley Scott. Let's see here. Screenplay by David Mamet and Stephen Zaillian, based on Thomas Harris's book. And I did read the book before I saw the movie, and I still enjoy this film. And I admit, at first, I was a little disappointed when I was watching the series Hannibal that they decided that for whatever reason in the later seasons, going into, like going in, I think it was like halfway into season two, going into season three, that for whatever reason they decided they wanted to redo the Thomas Harris books because in the at first they ended up doing Hannibal, and then by the time they got into season three, they started basically redoing Red Dragon again. So I was kind of disappointed, but at the same time, it's like, well, I did kind of like the fact that as someone who's read the book, that in the series that they ended up including elements from the book that didn't make it into the movie. But overall, I still really enjoy this movie. I know a lot of people don't. I know a lot of fans of Silence of the Lambs was really, let down by this movie. And I think maybe some people felt that maybe, the whole movie pretty much mostly focusing on the character of Hannibal Lecter was the wrong way to go. And I think some people felt that, with Manhunter and Silence of the Lambs, and then with Red Dragon, I think they felt that really not knowing too much about him, like keeping the character of Hannibal Lecter mysterious was the way to go with it, and they didn't really care for the idea of really getting into his background and really having the story focus more on him rather than him being locked up in the cell and assisting an FBI agent, whether it's, Will Graham or Clary Starling, on helping them try to, find a killer. But I really liked it, and I liked the idea that they finally did a story where it was more about him. And Anthony Hopkins, he did a great job. And, I'm not saying anything bad against Mads Mikkelsen. I think he did a really fine job as Hannibal. So far, I think we've been very lucky with the animals, with the actors that they got to play Hannibal Lecter. I think we've been very lucky. In Manhunter we had Brian Cox. Then in Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal, and then Red Dragon we had Anthony Hopkins, and then when we had the TV series we had Mads Mikkelsen. And forgive me, right now I can't remember the name of the actor who played him in Hannibal Rising, but personally I felt that actor did very well too, playing the young Hannibal Lecter. But anyway, getting into the story, our story takes place sometime after Silence of the Lambs. Dr. Frederick Chilton has mysteriously vanished, disappeared, and which, come on, we all, anybody who's watched this movie, you've watched Silence of the Lambs, you've read any of the books, you pretty much get the idea. You know what happened to Dr. Chilton. So, uh, so anyway, some time has passed, and pretty much Clary Starling, now played by Julianne Moore, who I'm going to be honest, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say I think Julianne Moore really did a good job. I know a lot of people are probably going to disagree with me with that. They'd be like Jodie Foster forever. Now, don't get me wrong, okay? I love Silence of the Lambs as much as the next person. I think it's a masterpiece of a movie. I think it's very well done. Anthony Hopkins, brilliant as Hannibal Lecter. Jodie Foster nailed it as Clarice Starling. I have nothing but good things to say about Jodie Foster and her portrayal of Clarice Starling. But see, here's the problem. If you watch the bonus features, apparently they did. Their first thing was they offered the part to Jodie Foster. They wanted her to come back, but unfortunately, Jodie Foster turned it down. Okay, so they tried to find another good actress. They tried to get the best actress that they could, and ultimately they went with Julianne Moore. And it's not Julianne Moore's fault that Jodie Foster didn't want to take the role again. And now I understand pretty much that any actress that tried to follow in Jodie's footsteps, yeah, you're asking for trouble, you know. But honestly, I think that Julianne Moore, I think she really stepped up. She, she did the best she could, and I actually applaud her. I think, as a follow up to Jodie, I think she did a really good job. I think she really gave it her best, and I really do. I like her portrayal in this movie. Now, I'm not saying anything against Jodie Foster. I love Jodie. I really do. But I still think Julianne Moore, given what she had to work with and everything else, I think she really did a good job as a follow up to Clarice Starling, or to Jodie Foster. That's just my opinion. So anyway, some time has passed, and as in the book, as in the movie, Clarice Starling. The story begins with a shootout at a fish market. They're trying to take down a drug dealer, and it doesn't end well. There's a shootout. The drug dealer's instead being captured or killed, and because of this, Clarice Starling, the blame is pretty much put on her, and she has to pretty much, she has to, she's screwed, and she's being called on the carpet for her decisions, and unfortunately, she's got Paul Krenler in here, played by Ray Liotta, really, giving her a hard time, and she's pretty much relieved of duty for a period of time. Now, Krenler, in the book and in the movie, being a sleazy scumbag, decides that, he's going to, make a deal with Starling. If she's willing to play ball with him, he's willing to make things a little bit easier on her, which, good for her. She doesn't, she stands her ground and stands up for what she believes in. So good for her. And in the meanwhile, she gets called by Mason Verger, played by Gary Oldman, who in the series, I believe it was Michael Pitt from Funny Games and The Dreamers. I think he's the one who played Mason Verger. And one thing that was interesting that, I know when you make a movie, you adapt a book, you have to, you do have to cut some stuff out. And in the movie, the character of Margot Verger from the book, who is Mason's lesbian sister, she's not in this movie, although in the TV series, Catherine Isabel played her. So, but anyway, so her character is eliminated. We get a little bit of Barney from, Silence of the Lambs. Barney is kind of like the through character throughout the entire series. Unfortunately, yeah, Frankie Faison, unfortunately, I don't think he ever played on the TV series. Not that I remember. But, so anyway, but yeah, it's nice to see Frankie Faison return to play Barney the orderly again. Anthony Hopkins, oh, great, really knocks it out. But anyway, so he tells Clarice Starling that he wants her to put Hannibal Lecter back on, the FBI's most wanted list. They want to try to draw him out. They want to get him, put away for good and all this stuff. But really, what it is that Mason Verger. See, the thing is Mason Verger was a former patient of Dr. Lecter, and I don't know why I'm telling you this. Chances are you've probably seen the movie already, but anyway, so Hannibal Lecter didn't like Mason Verger because Mason Verger was a child molester, and he ended up getting Mason Verger high, and when he was high on drugs and stuff, he was able to get Mason Verger to disfigure himself and carve up his own face and feed the pieces to the dog. So now Mason Verger wants to get revenge on Hannibal Lecter by having these, I believe it's Sicilians. Sorry, just it escapes me at the moment. But, they're training these big hogs to learn how to attack people and how to eat flesh. And the idea is that, he's going to feed Hannibal Lecter to these hogs. And so now but the thing is like, meanwhile, Hannibal Lecter, we find out, is hiding in Italy. He's now going as Dr. Fell. He's trying to become the runner, the curator, I think is the right word, of the Capone Library. And there's a detective who is, trying to track him. But the thing is, the detective isn't interested in bringing him to justice. The detective is interested in working with Mason Verger to try to to capture Hannibal Lecter so that he can, collect all this reward money and everything else. And so now Clarice Starling, it's funny because now Clarice Starling is the only one who is really trying to protect Hannibal, and she wants to put him back in jail again. She wants to bring him to justice, and but she wants to keep him safe. She wants to keep him alive, whereas like everybody else wants him dead. So it's kind of this race against time, and trying to but at the same time, Hannibal is doing the best he can to try to avoid capture by anybody. So he's trying to avoid Inspector Potsy. He's trying to avoid Mason Verger and everything else. And there's the movie is it's a beautifully shot film. I think it's very well made. I'm surprised this isn't actually in like 235 or 239 wide, because usually Ridley Scott, usually his movies are always like widescreen. So it's surprised to see this one is more. I think this is 185 to 1 aspect ratio. So that's surprising for a Ridley Scott movie. Usually all his movies are always wide, but still the movie looks amazing. It's beautifully shot. It's well made, well crafted. I will say though, unfortunately, because see, I got the 4K Blu-ray, and while it does look good on 4K, there are moments where there are scenes where it's like, unfortunately, it's really dark and it's hard to see a lot of the details in it. But because with 4K, it brings out more of the blacks and everything else. It doesn't really brighten up the picture the way that regular HD did. It really 4K really heightens the dark, the black element in your picture and stuff. But anyway, though, I mean, yeah, and I mean, of course, there's that infamous scene where, everybody knows it by now. You got the scene where Hannibal, to get revenge on Paul Krindler for the way that he treated Clarice Starling. The scene where he's cutting the top of his head off and cutting off the sac to his brain and then cooking pieces of his brain and making Krindler eat it and stuff like that. Everybody knows that scene. There is a good bit of gore in here, which I think that was probably something that might have upset fans of Silence of the Lambs 2, is because this movie definitely has more of a gore content to it than Silence of the Lambs. Silence of the Lambs was, even though it had some gruesome moments in it, that movie was way more about mystery and creating tension and building suspense. And this one here has more gruesome, gory bits to it. But the thing is, the book had it as well. So, in a sense, a lot of it is that the movie is just trying to follow the book. One thing I will say that I thought was a really good thing that in this movie, that they don't, it didn't go with the ending of the book. One thing I have to admit I wasn't keen on was the ending of the book, where basically Hannibal Lecter manages to get Clarice Starling hooked onto drugs and basically kind of like scrambles her brain, is the best way I could describe it, into where she's not, she can't think for herself anymore and everything. And she's basically, he's basically got her to be submissive to him. And so he basically makes her kind of his slave at the end of the book. Whereas in the movie, they didn't do that. They went and kept her as the strong female lead. I think that was a good idea. One thing I think would have been interesting, though, that they could have kept from the book is if, in the book, Hannibal actually digs up the corpse of, or the bones of Clarice's father. And he does this as like a gesture for her. And so kind of like a gesture of love for her and things like that. So, but anyway, they didn't put that in there, but well, what can you do? So overall, though, I really do like this movie. I think it was a good follow-up to Silence of the Lambs. I like that we had a movie that was more about Hannibal Lecter, instead of Lecter just being this kind of side character who his whole thing is he just wants to, advise people. Well, not really want to, but he's kind of forced to advise these FBI agents on how to track a serial killer. So I really enjoyed the film. So, but anyway, yeah, and it's got some good gory bits. It's a very well made, well crafted film. Great performances. I really do. I think this movie, holds up pretty well. That's just my opinion. But anyway, that's it. So if anybody took the time to watch this, I thank you for doing it. I appreciate you for doing it. I honestly hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave it a like. If you haven't already, go and subscribe to the Body Bags channel. We have a different reviewer for every day of the week. I'm the Friday reviewer. We have great guys. Everybody's all doing good stuff. And that's it. Everybody, take care. Have a good night, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.